So it's really interesting. Neil Patel, who's one of like the leaders in SEO, he just did an analysis at the end of last year of like content across like 500 websites or something. And he found that what is still super effective are like blog posts and then like ebooks or white papers.
Hey, welcome to the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm Jason McClaren.
And I'm Lolly Spindler.
Hey, Lolly, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Definitely. So, yeah, Lolly is a content creator. She has her own agency, and we'll get into talking about that here in a little bit. But, Lolly, tell us how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I used to live in Spain. I was an English teacher right out of college, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So I studied Hispanic language and literature in college, and so I was like, I'll move to Spain for a couple years and teach English. Um, and during those 2 years, I still was like, I was having a great time, but I knew that teaching children was not my path. But I had always been a writer. And so when I got back to California after those 2 years abroad, my friend had just been tasked to start the social media team at a real estate website. And so he brought me on as a writer, even though I knew nothing about real estate. And he was like, I know you can write. So you and I are just going to kind of learn the real estate industry as we go. So it was me and him, and then we hired a graphic designer. And that was like the three of us were kind of learning everything about digital marketing on the fly and about real estate. So thankfully we had a lot of leeway and they gave us a lot of grace because they didn't know what they were doing either. It was, 2014-ish, like they had like lots of websites, but they weren't really funneling any traffic to them with marketing. And so I kind of learned there everything I use in my business today with content marketing, with content creation, with social media. And after doing it for a year, it was like an in-office job, 9 to 5. And I was like, this is all online. Like, could we work like a day or two remotely to just like try it out? But they were very traditional. So that was a no from them. And so I was like, okay, well, like, thank you for this opportunity, but like, I want to see if I can do this remote because I don't need to be coming into an office and spending an hour commuting every day if like all I need is a computer and Wi-Fi. So I basically left that job and just like started my own content marketing company. And first it was just, I had a few clients that I met at my co-working space, and it kind of just developed from there. I kind of just threw myself in and I was like, I'll figure it out.
That's awesome. I think some of the things you talked about there is you didn't know real estate, and I think a lot of people can do that and use their skills for something else that maybe they don't know. And that's how I got into my second career. I didn't know anything about facility maintenance, but I had worked a lot with them as a firefighter, and the
Mm.
people that were hiring me were like, "We don't need a facility maintenance person. We need a leadership person, and you have those skills." So I was able to kind of translate those over, and I think a lot of people listening can do that too. If you have skills, yours was in content creation and writing, you're able to translate that into something else. So whether you be maybe a mechanic or maybe you're HVAC person, you have other skills that you've used on those trades like customer service or
Mhm.
inventory, that sort of thing you can use for other things. So definitely useful information. And I think a lot of people, as you said, you were a teacher. I see a lot of content creators are teachers. I've never been a teacher, but I've been a fire instructor, and I think those things kind of relate to that also, use those skills that you've learned into new ways. And that's kind of why I host a podcast. I know how to make lesson plans from being an instructor. So that kind of relates to, making a production plan for a podcast. So use your
100%.
skills, people can do that and use their skills and move forward.
Yeah. And now I'm also teaching again. I'm now coaching other freelance writers how to build their own businesses and grow them to 6 figures. And one thing I say at the outset is start honing your skills in an area that you're passionate about. So probably like people who come to me, they can write, but they've never written as like a freelance writer for clients. So I always tell them, start like writing about something that you love, like whether that's, like your time in the military, or if it's auto, or if it's beauty, like whatever it is, practice with something that you really care about. And then once you have the confidence in your skills, then you can start branching out into like writing about maybe something you aren't that competent in, like when I was started in real estate. So
definitely. So you kind of use your skills, you translate it out into your own thing. How is that? How is it, starting your own business basically and getting everything going? Did the clients just flock to you, or you had to, hustle and grind and go from there?
So I did it freelance on my own for about 6 months. And I had, I would say like 2 to 4 clients that I met through like the local Long Beach community, through co-working, referrals, word of mouth. And then I was leaving to go on a year-long work travel program, was also looking for a full-time role. So I did both for about 2 years. So I ran my agency on the side, and then I had this full-time role as a content marketing manager for an inbound marketing agency. And then fast forward when I finally am on this trip, that startup went under. So I was very lucky to have had already started my freelance writing business and my content marketing agency, because then I had already had like a couple clients that were able to float me. And then some people in my group that I was traveling with also became clients. So it was kind of nice that I had already set that business foundation, because when I needed it, it was there, as a parachute.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. They maybe get one or two clients, do it like a side hustle for a while. Then, of course, you get referrals and that sort of thing from your few clients, and it grows from there. So that's all good information.
Yeah.
So,
And there's no shame in starting it as a side hustle. Like I hear lots of coaches be like, you have to go all in on your passion. And I'm like, yeah, but also if you want to have that financial stability while you grow your business on the side, like do that. Like get a couple clients. And then once you're hitting your financial goals and you feel comfortable taking that leap, then go and make the transition to full time. There's no shame in starting as a side gig.
definitely, especially if you're like myself, I'm the only earner in the house, so can't jump ship and go from there. So yeah, and you'll see some coaches say that they're like, oh, you got to quit everything else and put 100% into this, but some people just don't have that opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't like dilute your passion at all. You're still just as passionate, and it's the direction that you want to go, but you're doing it in a smart, stable, secure way.
Yeah, and if you're working a 9 to 5, that's only 40 hours of your week, so you've got plenty of time, nights, weekends. I know all the stuff I do with Go Heroes is volunteer, so I do it. After my daughter goes to bed, I'm sending emails,
Hmm.
scheduling things. So yeah, I'm there with you.
Yeah. I know. I always tell people just like cut out 1 hour of Netflix a day and just like 1 hour, start with 1 hour a day. That's all you need to start with.
So this allows you to travel a lot. You've been to how many countries now?
Over 30. I kind of lost track. I was trying to do a country for every year of life. And I think I'm 37 now, and I think I'm around 37, and I'm about to go to India and Nepal in a week. So those will add another two. But yeah, like
So
that's one reason. Like when I was in that office job, I was just like, no, like this is cannot see myself doing this for the rest of my life. Also, like technology has afforded us the luxury of being able to take our work with us. And so I was just like, you know what? Let's see if this works. And so I worked remotely, but from my house in Long Beach for a couple years. And then when I went on this year-long program is when I was like, oh, this is actually sustainable. Like this is something I can do. So if you've ever thought about working remotely and traveling at the same time, do it for like a month, I would suggest, because then you can see if it's like actually something that you can make work with how you live. For me, it worked out. And so I was like super lucky. And I've just been traveling and working around the world since.
yeah, that's the whole work to live instead of living to work,
Yeah,
and
100%.
making it work out for you and making that work-life balance really a
Yeah.
balance and not working. So
Yes. And then there's just like, you're more grateful, right? Because you're like, wow, I've created a business that's able to support this lifestyle that I've always wanted to live. And so that just adds like another reinforcing component of like why you're doing what you're doing.
definitely. So tell us more about Korea. What do you guys do over there?
So yeah, Krea Content Marketing, I started over 10 years ago now. And it's basically all like digital content creation. So anything that lives online, I've written, and it's in every industry. It's like industry agnostic. So I've written for like B2B SaaS, I've written for like healthcare, lawyers, I've written for like mentorship apps, like whatever you can like name, I've probably written in that industry. I've done a lot of travel stuff too, since I travel a lot. But basically, like we were talking about at the beginning, like once I have like honed this skill set, I was able to apply it across industries. And it's really just being a really good researcher and really knowing how to land that client's brand tone, voice, knowing their audience. And then from there, you're able to create a piece of content that kind of meets your client's KPIs, whether that's just getting traffic to their website, or it's converting that traffic into leads, or it's converting those leads into sales. You're able to craft pieces of content that help, those people along the marketing funnel and turn them into buyers. So that's like kind of like my bread and butter is like blog posts, newsletters, social media. And then my favorite projects are books. So I have a lot of book clients as well who have like lots of industry knowledge in real estate, Airbnb, whatever it is, and they want to share that while also creating another passive income stream. So they already have like a little bit of an audience. They're ready. They've always wanted to write a book. They want to create like another asset that either lives online, or they're going to self-publish, or they're going to shop it to a publisher. And so I kind of help coach them into creating an asset that, they can then share with their audiences.
Awesome. We had a guest a couple episodes back. She was writing Biopedia, she called them. They're like basically mini.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I watched
stories.
that one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, that was really cool.
definitely people can use their knowledge and skills and get their voice out there. So let's talk about AI. Like, is it gunning for your job, and why do people still need you?
So I think there was like a lot of panic when LLMs, large language models, first came out, because people could use it to do like write a love letter to my girlfriend or whatever. It was actually like not terrible. But there's still a gap in what AI can do and what a human can do. So for writers, if you're like a mediocre or like not a great writer, then AI like ChatGPT can probably write a post that's better than yours. But if you're like a solid writer and you're like really good and you've honed your craft, it's going to be a lot harder because you can cater that content to an audience. Whereas LLMs are just made to sound human. Like they're made to sound conversational. That is like their number one skill. They're not necessarily, there's no intent behind it, right? Like you can say, write this in this tone, write this for this audience, but it's harder to get that intent that a human can bring to that piece of content to actually move a reader to action. And also like there's just a lot of errors. So even if you do use an AI like ChatGPT to write a piece of content, you're still going to need a human to go through, fact check it, edit it for grammar and style and everything, and take out, these words that it always uses. And also make sure that's not hallucinating, when it's just like, because it wants to be conversational, right? So it'll make up stuff to sound right, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's right. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is it's really good at more of that fluffy content, that like how to top of the funnel content, but it's not as great as like middle and bottom of the funnel content. So that's why I still tell writers like use it. Definitely use it because it helps, especially with the research component. Like I use it because now instead of having to go to like 10 to 20 websites to get source material and like learn, especially if I'm learning an industry as I'm writing, instead of having to spend all that time, I can consolidate that using ChatGPT, have it source that for me. So then I can just like get to writing a lot faster. So really now, if you're like a solid writer, you can get twice amount of work done in half the time. So it's really working to our benefit now.
I agree. I think it's definitely a force multiplier and not I mean, it probably will take a few jobs, but I think the people that learn it are going to excel. And then, like you said, I'm using it to help write my book right now, and it does hallucinate. Even the things I've told it, it'll just add stuff in there. And like, this is not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely good times, and I think people can work and use it for their benefit and then excel.
Yeah.
So we talked about the funnel a little bit. People that don't know about marketing and funnels, tell us. We talked about top of funnel. I think most people know that. That's what you're seeing billboards. You're seeing ads on Instagram, Facebook. That's kind of top of funnel. Let's talk about middle of funnel, and then closing the funnel.
Yeah. So you're basically like trying to get this person first. Top of the funnel is just awareness. So you just want them like aware of your product and service and that you even exist, right? So that's the step that's going to be like, here's a problem that you're having. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I do have that problem. Oh, what's this person talking about this problem that I have? Right. So that's the first stage. You're just trying to build kind of brand awareness, basically. And the middle of the funnel is where they already have seen a piece of your content or a billboard. And so there's some brand recognition there. And then they're like, oh yeah, like I've like read a couple social media posts, like maybe they followed you. And they're like, okay, like I'm more intrigued by what solution this company is offering for this problem that I have. And then bottom of the funnel is when they're like, now they're fully considering purchasing. and they're weighing maybe 3 or 4 options and you're one of them. And that's when you want to really like differentiate your product or service from the competition. And that's where you're like really getting into like the nitty gritty, right? So like that's why it's like this. So top of the funnel is more like general, then we're moving a little more specific, and then like very specific about exactly what your products or service offers and how it's different from the competition and what it's going to get them and bring the client to solve their problem. And that's what's going to convert them into a sale.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you visualize know, like, and trust your audience trying to know, like, and trust you as a service or a product.
Mm-hmm.
The know is just the top of the funnel. The liking is the middle, and then trusting you is when they actually buy something. So yeah, that's definitely a good example there. So why do like companies like Buc-ee's? I'm in Texas, so Buc-ee's is a big thing, and why do they need marketing when everybody knows them already?
So it's really interesting. Neil Patel, who's one of like the leaders in SEO, he just did an analysis at the end of last year of like content across like 500 websites or something. And he found that what is still super effective are like blog posts and then like ebooks or white papers. So in order to compete game and to get traffic to your website, it's still really important to be creating content because it kind of forms like that trust, like we're talking about with your audience. Like they know you're consistent, they know you're knowledgeable, they know if they have a question can come to you for the answer. It's kind of creating that relationship, but also continuously providing value. So that's why even if you're like a super well-known company, like it's still important to keep that trust relationship, because if all of a sudden you disappear, then they're like, wait, what happened? Right. So it's like kind of like keeping that, like how you maintain a friendship, right? You're like checking in and seeing how they're doing. It's the same with like content in your audience. You continuously have to, and it shouldn't just be like, you got to throw out content to throw out content. No, it's like very specific, strategized content that's going to meet the needs of the people you're in a relationship with.
Definitely. You gotta keep that up because people will forget you if you're not out there. So
yeah.
So Lolly, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah. So you can go to lollyspindler.com. And there you can like book a call with me if you want to do a discovery call. Or you can also find me on LinkedIn and send me a message there. And yeah, I'm like open to clients right now. I'm going to India for a month, but after that, I'm an open book. So yeah, like I'm definitely working with, bringing on new clients who have content needs and also like writers who want to kind of jump into starting their own businesses.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Hey, everybody. This episode of the Leadership Loading Podcast was brought to you by Go Heroes Inc., goheroes.org. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go ahead and check out our website or email us, and we'll get you all the information you need.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership inspired.